Yeah. You cracking on with that beard, mate?
I know. Well, it's the hair more than anything.
I mean, it's
The
looking
hair's
tremendous.
wild. Everyone else seems to be breaking the ruals on the lockdown front. Like everyone else is coming in with trim haircuts, whereas I'm walking around looking horrendous. But got to try and make the best of it.
Well, talking of haircuts, I know we're going off topic here, but saw Dicko playing for Hollington, and he's got a very tidy haircut, so he's definitely been a naughty boy, I think.
He's a man. No, to be fair, I think his other half does it for him actually. So I think because I saw him and I commented on the fact that his hair looks as immaculate as ever, and he said his better half had been doing it. So, but Dicko takes pride in his hair.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good haircut.
It's very black as well. Yeah, I'm not suggesting nothing. Anyway.
No. To be fair, that's all natural.
Was it? Oh, right. Okay.
There's no cover up. She's just blessed when it comes to hair. So, it's all good.
It's an absolute pleasure to talk to the boss. But also,
don't let Billy hear that.
Well, you can't. I don't know where to go with that one. Yeah. Well, if we had a spare 3 hours, we could get Billy on. Anyway. Well, getting back to the bloody point now, Chris. We've just signed a few people up for contracts, which is nice. The veteran players, particularly, we need that spine in the side. Is there any more coming up, or is this? Have we got any business? Do you think we're going to be doing before start of the season?
Yeah, no. I think we're pretty much on the squad last year. We're pretty much we've retained, I think, 99% of them. To be fair, it's just a couple that we're waiting on due to not really footballing reasons, but more changing circumstances. I think we could announce signings en masse tomorrow, but obviously it's important that information goes out gradually to keep a good flow of information rather than all in one hit, which I think the club does really well. To be fair, I think it keeps a good flow of positive information. So, but in the main, we are pretty much there in terms of last season's squad. Obviously, we in a positive way lost David and Ben Ward. So it's a case of replacing them, and I mean we're in a really good position. So when I originally took over, it was a real challenge to try and attract players to the club because we were near the bottom of the league and we were going in a different direction, and it was quite a. I don't think Hastings was seen as a particularly appealing club, other than wages were decent. Whereas we obviously opted to go in a different direction, and we were right at the start of that journey. So attracting the right type of player was originally really difficult, and now the challenge is we've obviously done well last couple of years, and the type of football we play and the sort of progress we've made has meant that we can now attract lots of players. It's more a challenge of attracting the right ones. So there's players outside of Hastings currently that we're looking at and that we're speaking to. But for me, the main thing is giving the opportunities from within the academy set up. So who's the next Ben Ward? Who's the next David? Adam Lovett, Jamie Fielding, and Cohen. And to be fair, the academy's going from strength to strength. And I mean, we played Eastbourne Town first team this past Saturday with an under-19 team with an average age of 17 years old, and we're very competitive. So when you think that we're doing that to teams a league below, it shows the positive progress the academy's made, but also like the potential of the players that we've got.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of those in the when I talked to you about the Bexhill game, and there does seem to be a lot of talent, and that's one of the reasons why I got you on again, Chris. Was just talking about the expert eye.
Right, like what is an expert? I think from my perspective, I've been doing it a long time, so I'm just short of 20 years of coaching.
You don't look old enough, Chris.
No, I know. I started when I was 15. So, and having the management side of things, I'm a novice at, really. I've only been doing it, as you know, sort of for coming up to 5 years, whereas I've been actually coaching and youth development wise, been working, for, as I said, nearly 20 years. So, you know, I don't think by any means I'm an expert, but one thing we're starting to see now is with more and more lads going to pro clubs, you're starting to see trends and starting to see definite sort of comparisons between players, and that can obviously help with the process of the next player coming through, really. I think, to be honest, I think my big thing is if I've got a young lad, how would I want them to be treated if I was their parent? That's my big thing is, would I be happy if that was my son or my child being dealt with in that way, or being given that sort of guidance and direction or support? And I always sort of think if we can get ourselves in a position where what we're asking from the players is if I had a parent's hat and I'd be happy with that, you go not too far wrong. There'll be mistakes, and you know, we've made plenty of mistakes. Like in my time at Hastings, there's players that have slipped through, and where I'm a lot softer now than what I was 4 or 5 years ago. I'm a lot more laid back and probably a lot more empathetic than what I was. And I think we're definitely in a better position now to work with the players and develop the players. But it's all, as I said, it's all experience, and all the time it's a willingness from our perspective to learn and keep moving forwards and review what you do. And if you make a mistake, move forwards. And it's a lot of it's trial and error as well. But what we're starting to see is definite trends and definite traits among players that are pushing on, and things that we've done or not done. You go, well, we're not too far off it.
I mean, do you have to treat players differently? I mean, I wanted to kind of really look into like what you look at for a player, but like since you started, I can imagine you've read your Roy Keane autobiography. You're there, you're ready. You know, and then you've obviously got to cater to. I
think the big thing is I think when we talk about players, we're talking about human beings, and we're talking about young men. I think that's the most important thing, and I think the idea of being treated equally. So for me, that equality is the right to be treated differently, and I think that is good coaching in terms of everyone is different. Yeah, everyone needs different types of support and different types of advice, and I think if you can not generalize and take each individual in their own right, I don't think you can go too far wrong. Yeah. I think ultimately, if you're genuinely, your motive is, let's try and help this young man or young girl, boy, girl, whatever. If you're trying to help them fulfill their potential, there will be mistakes, but you can't go too far wrong. And I think if you get to know the person and you get to know the individual and what pushes their buttons and what motivates them, then I think as soon as you know the human being, then you can start really moving in the right direction. And so there's players at first team level that I treat completely different to other players.
Well,
and I think that is good coaching in terms of being able to differentiate from your Jack Dixon, for example, to your Jake Elliott. They're two completely different people. And as I said, like with younger players, it's getting to know them. And also, like a challenge for me is when I deal with the younger lads, obviously talking outside of the academy, is not all of them will become Hastings United first team players. But that doesn't mean that we don't try and help them fulfill their potential. So I know there is some lads that, you know, that 90%, 95%, some of them 99% won't play for Hastings United. but that doesn't mean that we're not going to try and help them fulfill their potential.
Yeah.
And I think if you can work with that sort of attitude towards each player, tailoring your work on an individual basis with a view to let's try and help them achieve their potential. As I said, I don't think you can go too far wrong.
Well, I suppose it's that having that time, isn't it? And giving them that time.
Yeah, I think often we have it with, obviously we work closely with teachers and the education program side of things to create the under-19 program. And I think forever the challenge is to sort of treat people how you'd like to be treated yourself.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I've made loads of mistakes, and I've said things, and you think, even 20 minutes later, you think, I shouldn't have done that, or that was a bit much, or you go the other way, I was a bit soft with that. I could have been a bit stronger with that. And I think that again, ultimately, it's just communicating with people and talking to people on a level. So, I don't really talk down to people as such. I just try and have conversations with people, and it's quite an informal process. I think it's quite a human process. It's like, it's not sitting down in the office looking someone in the eye and saying, we're doing this. It's not necessarily out on the training pitch directing a tactical session. I think coaching now more and more, it's the informal conversation in the corridor where it's just as I said, an informal chat on a human level rather than being dictatorial or directing people. I just think it's the best way to go.
Well, the results speak for themselves if COVID hadn't come along.
Yeah.
Bastard COVID.
I think, and it's not just on an academy level; it's on the first team level as well. And it's amazing where just by being honest and straight with people, don't get me wrong, I don't want to give off the impression that it's all flowers and roses and it's all lovely. It's
group
like Valentine's
group
Day.
hugs.
Yeah, it's part of being treated how you'd like to be treated yourself is to be straight with people. So
absolutely.
For my thing, if I'm not delivering, I want to be told. I want to know where I'm falling short, and we're the same with the staff. So, amongst the staff, we review absolutely everything, and we're brutally honest with each other. I think, again, that's how I would like to be treated, and I think, in terms of player development and dealing with different people, I don't think you can go too far wrong. They might not like what you say, but ultimately, it's with the best interests at heart, not just being. You're not being horrible for the sake of it. You're trying to work towards improving them as a person, and ultimately, from a first team perspective, winning promotion.
Okay. Well, just going back to what we were saying about what you look for in a player. I know there's different things for different levels. You'll have obviously someone that you're looking at if you want them in the academy, to a first team player. I mean, is there anything? But it's just like we touched on when we were speaking about the Bexhill game, and just what. From that sort of that level, what do you look for if you're at that game? What are you looking for to excite you? To think, hang on, he's got something about him.
I think everyone has their own personal preference and their own personal bias, in terms of what they look for. I've forever sat in rooms with coaches where they reel off what players can't do, and I almost sort of think sometimes it gets overlooked. Well, what actually can they do?
Yeah.
So just trying to, because ultimately, if the players could do all the things that we've highlighted they can't do, then they wouldn't be at the level they are. They'd be playing. So I think it's firstly having an awareness of what you're dealing with and the level you work and the level that's in front of you. So a player pulling up trees at Bexhill United is different to a player pulling up trees at Hastings United, let's be honest, because the level's different. So I think it's having an awareness of what you're looking at. As I said, personal preference, but as a general rule, the big thing is we're working more towards character and personality. So physicality and character and personality are two things that are the most difficult to develop. They're the most difficult ones to affect. You can make people quicker, but not significantly quicker. I've never seen someone turn a snail into Usain Bolt. I've never seen it. personality and character-wise, obviously you can have influence on that, but it's very difficult to change with limited time.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's more what their home life looks like and stuff like that, which is very difficult for us to impact. So they're two things that we look at straight away is go character, physicality. If they're ticking both them boxes, then the other areas in terms of touch and technique and ability to handle the ball and the tactical side of it, we can affect a little bit more. They're a lot easier to affect. So, so, you know, in a general view, if you're looking at someone and they can get around the pitch, and when I say character, it doesn't mean shouting and bawling and having a go at people. Like little things like seeing a winger when the opposition fullback is overlapping, and the winger just lets them go and leaves their fullback hanging out to dry. That tells me something a little bit about their makeup between their ears. Whereas if you see Alamra Aziz, who will die to get back to help his fullback, it's a reflection of sort of his character and personality. And like Ben Ward last year, I knew Ben was going to push on. It was before the Herne Bay game, and in the middle of a team talk, you know, and massive game, biggest game that Ben would have ever played in. He interrupted me mid-flow in the middle of a team talk in front of everyone and said, Aggie, can I just stop you there? I just need you to clarify what my role is today because I'm not 100% sure.
Wow.
As soon as he said that, I thought, yeah, he's got a chance because he didn't care about potentially looking embarrassed in front of his teammates. He wasn't fearful of or worried about a reaction from me. It was, no, I want to get it right.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared to put myself in an uncomfortable situation to make sure I've sort of, I can do my job. And whereas 90% of the other younger lads will just, everyone understand, nod and smile, And in fact, they're not sure. And so that when Ben done that, I thought, he's going to go. Like he's going to push on.
Yeah.
So straight away, if you've got those sorts of traits and, as I said, physicality, like with Ben, another good example, left-footed, you know, it's a fact. You've got much more opportunity to progress in football if you play off your left side because there's that much fewer left-footed players. He could get around the pitch, big, strong, tall, things that we can't affect. So he ticked the box character and personality-wise. He was not exceptional athletically, but he ticked a lot of boxes. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we can work on the technical and tactical side of it. So yeah, I know it's a long answer to the question, but again, I think it goes back to my original point about treating everyone individually. So what you look for in a winger is completely different to what you look for in a centre back. Having an understanding of the game and also, as I said, an awareness of what you're looking at and looking at people's strengths rather than their weaknesses is viewing people as right. No, they can't do that, but let's help them along the way rather than just dismiss them because they can't do this. Yeah, but they can do that. They can do that. So let's try and develop areas for weaknesses, but also develop super strengths as well. There's a lot of people talk about areas for development. Well, what about say someone's a brilliant crosser of the ball?
Yeah.
Well, but they're not so good at their finishing. I reckon a lot of people go loads of work on finishing. Yeah, but we don't need to work on the crossing. He's great at. Well, actually, why don't we turn this kid into David Beckham? And you go, he's an elite, unbelievable crosser of the ball. Yeah, he can't finish, but if he goes into a wide area and he's on the ball, this guy is elite. You know, he's the best. So I think it's important with development of players. It's identifying weaknesses, yes. We'll work on them, yes, but also this kid is great at this. Let's really give him an opportunity to practice it and become, as I said, elite at a certain thing. So like a super strength.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Do you actually just popped into my head when I was chatting with David Rodari a while back, and he was talking about he did a video and he put it round, and I don't know if you saw it or that's how you caught up with him. Do you get many of those?
Get loads. I get absolutely loads.
Yes. And how do you file them?
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is I make a conscious since David. So in football, it's funny because you'll message someone in football and they won't reply, and it's just like accepted, and you just think, well, that's rude. And it's amazing the amount of like people that I've spoken to. It might just be me, but there's a lot of people I know that say, "Oh, it's just football, it's just what." It's like people don't reply, and you think, well, that's rude. So I've always made a conscious effort to reply to every single and acknowledge every single email or message I've had from trialists, either the trialist himself or an agent. I always make sure, even if it's thank you for the email or the contact, at this moment in time we don't have any opportunities, but just genuinely being sort of courteous.
Yeah.
And so, and it's funny when I reply, the next message is always, "I'm so surprised that you reply, because not normally people do." You just think it's unbelievable. Oh, wow. But yeah, and the David story was, I got an email from his brother who changed his name from what his actual name was, and basically pretended to be David's agent, not his brother. And so then David come up, and then David come over, and he done all right. He was a winger. Come over it for 2 days, trained, and then played in a trial game, and he didn't blow anyone away. Like, it wasn't like wow. So like when you first saw Tom, it was like like TC, you thought, wow, this kid's like, David was nowhere near like that, which is why he's a really good example to a lot of younger lads, in terms of like, it was just, he wasn't particularly big, he wasn't particularly strong, he wasn't particularly quick. He wasn't, I wouldn't say an amazing finisher. He played left wing. He just looked like a little bit like Ronaldo. It was like, and so we were like, oh, it's a lot of hassle because of international clearance and stuff like that. But we sort of thought, no, let's go with it. And then he had to wait like 10 months for international clearance. It was mental. But he was overtraining. He relocated. He moved in with us. We ended up moving his position to down the middle. And just it was his work ethic and desire and hunger to improve and just to take on board information. Again, personality and character.
Yeah.
No one could give David that. That was him, and obviously whether that's natural or nurture or his family background, but whatever it was, it certainly had a great outcome for him. And he just worked so hard, and that's really what sort of propelled him to do what he's done.
He's injured at the moment, isn't he? I think.
He's hamstring. Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone wishes him well, and he's such a nice bloke. And if only for those injuries, we'd have seen a lot more of it. He probably would have gone a lot sooner, because he's he's a very good player. And I know we all wish him the best at Crawley. So you obviously get a lot of people to think they know what they're talking about, and and I know you tolerate a lot of that, but but like I like, it was only that I was in the stands, it was lovely, by the way, to see all the gang again at the Hollington game. We were all walking our dogs at that point, and they're all talking about Football Manager. What's all that about? I mean, I'm not a fan. I played that back in the day, but like, when you hear these people that
I was Championship manager back in the day.
See, I was Championship manager.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it started glorified spreadsheet, the new one, this thing, and it's like, you'll hear them, and then they all sound like they're experts talking about these, and you just think you're just a set of numbers. A player, as you've just said, a player is a set of numbers.
Yeah.
To a degree it is, I suppose, but
no, I think there's a lot of pub, we call it pub chat.
Yeah.
Right. Pub level of football, like conversational chat, which is fine. I mean, and I don't want to sound like a snob or anything like that, because I make a conscious effort to be really open. Whether naturally my natural inclination is to listen to people, I'm not sure, but I've sort of trained myself over the years to be really open, because one of my things is I hate it when you're talking to someone and they're not listening. It's a real bugbear of mine. When they ask your opinion, and then when you're talking, they then go on their phone.
Oh.
Like it's just like, so I hate that. So I try and acknowledge as much as possible. And to be fair, like my wife sometimes said to me, she said, "Why do you listen?" Like, well, it's sort of what you, but it's more like I think basic manners and also being open. So I think I don't get too stressed out by it and too worried by it. I think there's loads of armchair critics that have an opinion, but when they have the balls to put themselves in the situation to go and actually be, like there's that saying in it, it's the man in the arena. It's like a quote. It's up in the office in terms of actually, you might fail, but sort of at least you had the balls to get out there and put yourself out there. It's that sort of thing. So it used to bother me more, whereas it doesn't now really. And I think often what you find is, well, when people talk, you don't have to say much. They normally hang themselves with what they come out with. So I'm
they usually contradict themselves every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. They, so. Yeah, I always think as well in football, it's ultimately about winning. So we could deliver the best working week on the training pitch, and it be unbelievable, Guardiola level of coaching, and then lose Saturday, and we'd be rubbish. Whereas we could not turn up all week, have no plan, and we win the game, and everyone's like, "This guy's a genius." So I just think it's so results driven that ultimately the only thing that matters is putting points on the board, especially at a club like Hastings where we have been as successful as what we have, and it is very much not all or nothing, because I think we do have obviously other positive outcomes in terms of selling players and moving players on, but ultimately a club like Hastings should be, like supporters wise, that could compete with the likes of Barnet in the National League and Dover in terms of being able to attract supporters. A club like Hastings should be at a higher level, and so I sort of accept it for what it is. Really, it's very much results driven.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Chris. I've got to leave you on this. I've got to leave you on this though. We need to talk about the Arsenal, right?
Yeah. Please don't.
What you kind of went a bit, and then it's what we thinking? Is he going to stay there for a few years? Do you think? Do you think they're going to be loyal to him,
I don't. It's so difficult to comment until you know the ins and outs of, and that's not me sitting on the fence. It's a bit like
a little bit,
yeah. But it's so genuinely, it's so difficult to. Again, if I relate it to this position at Hastings, people will go, "Why is so and so not playing?" Oh, it's ridiculous. He should be playing. When in fact, like people don't see what the week leading up to it looks like, and and then we're not privy to all the information. But I just think from Arsenal's perspective, I don't know. Like that's probably the problem. You never know what you're going to get. I don't think the recruitment's been particularly great, and I think recruitment is everything in football. I think you could be the best coach in the world, but if you don't get your recruitment right, you can only do so much. So, you look at. Why
do you think that, Aggie? Because your team had been playing good football. I mean, I remember back in the day when you were long ball Arsenal, but like you've been years and years and years a very good passing side. So what went wrong with the recruitment? Do you think?
I think it was a bit of a slow death, to be fair, because I don't think we ever really replaced Sol Campbell, Kolo Touré, that ilk of defender. I mean, like an elite level defender, an elite level centre back. And I think it's happened over time. It's been a slow decline. But what I would also say is I think a lot of Arsenal fans would now love to have Arsene Wenger back and would love to be in the top four.
Arsenal fan TV, eh?
So I think perhaps in hindsight you realise what a good job he done. But also I just think it's again, common sense is so lacking in football, I find. No, genuinely, just common sense thinking. Like in terms of when we're coaching, I don't think we do anything particularly groundbreaking at all. I just think we look at the game and we work back from that. What does the game look like? Well, training needs to look remotely like that, and that's it. It's nothing amazing. And I think from a recruitment perspective, it's the same. This is how Mikel Arteta wants to play. This is what he wants his team to look like. Therefore, certain positions need to be able to perform certain actions and certain roles. Well, let's go and get the players that can do that. So Mikel Arteta wants to play over back four, but they've re-signed David Luiz on a 2-year contract, who really is only a top defender in a back three.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever he's played in the back four, he's traditionally struggled.
Yeah.
But Arsenal put him on a 2-year contract with a manager that wants to work towards playing over the back four. And you think, well,
who's in charge?
Again, but again, it's just like common sense. I just think, well, you know, what's the thinking behind that? So I just think I think recruitment's the main thing, Chris. But also I get the vibe with, because Aubameyang got dropped, didn't he, for I don't know which game it was, and that got put out there publicly.
Yeah,
and I do think that as soon as you do that with a player who's a world-class player or was a world-class player, he's club captain, I think as soon as you start doing things like that, you're treading on dangerous territory, and you almost need to draw a line in the sand. So different sort of situation, really, and obviously a completely different level, but we had the similar sort of thing at Hastings, where I made a decision to basically move on the club captain, who was fans' favourite, and it was a really uncomfortable time in amongst some really poor results when we first took over. But you almost got to draw a line in the sand and go, this is what I'm going to do. And you've almost got to be quite stubborn with it and go, this is what I believe in. Because what you don't want to do is get caught half and half.
Yeah.
And have what you view as a problem in the dressing room festering. And then all of a sudden you get potentially, again, I'm just sort of reading between the lines, you then got what we saw against Liverpool, where you had a front four that looked like they were disinterested and certainly weren't fighting for the team. So,
no, Chris, thanks for your time, mate. And
my pleasure.
And are you going to be going to any of the games at all? I mean, I know you were potentially playing for Westfield. That don't look like that's happening now. You're obviously your fees too much now.
No, it was when because I originally messaged Mark and just said, because I sort of thought, I want to get out and run around a bit and play a bit, because I play a bit of six-a-side, and I just thought, wow, you can go and do a bit of training and all the rest of it, and just sort of stay active really, rather than because Saturdays were pretty clear, and then they put a massive announcement out. I was like, oh no, like I literally want to run around and have nobody know who I am. I don't want anyone like watching. So when they said no spectators at Grassroots, I sort of like celebrated a little bit. But to be fair, it was work has ramped right up again. So like, and with the academy, like the 23s, 19s, 18s, because they're part of education, we were able to come back a little bit earlier than the rest of Grassroots. So we've been we're back at it, doing a normal week, other than the first team, and have been for about 2 months now. So, so yeah, we're flat out. So in terms of me having time to go and run around and pretend to be a footballer, it's limited at the minute.
Mr. Heritage has received some abuse. I heard him called a poor man's Philip Schofield up front with that hair.
Well, it's better than being called a poor man's Rolf Harris.
But yeah, they were shouting out he was Kenny Rogers as well. I mean, you know, and
I don't know how
he gives it as good as he gets, though.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So he played on the Saturday, then he played veterans on the Sunday, then he played six-a-side on a Monday. It was just mental. So yeah, if I'm that mobile at 60, which I definitely won't be, then fair play. But
no, he's top man, Pete.
Yeah, he is.
Chris, take care and have a good day. All right, mate.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you. All the best to family as well.
Same to you, mate. Take care.